It's the Craggy Rugby Podcast. It's the midweek edition prior to the refixed Ospreys game. On the line tonight, I've got William Davies.
Evening, Alan.
And Dave Finn.
Good evening, everyone.
So, William, who was at the press conference today?
It was Ultan, Dillane and Andy Friend.
You've had a week off. You're back now. It's all changed around. It was going to be Bristol. That was cancelled. Racing's gone. Now it's the Ospreys. So how has that affected what you're at, the change of going back to the Pro 14? And what have you analysed out of the Munster match in terms of how that game played out?
I suppose, well, the chopping and changing, nothing's really changed. It's been nice to get a bit of a break. I think everyone's feeling that a little bit fresher. It's obviously disappointing to miss out on those Champions Cup game because we felt we were kind of rolling to some good form. But I suppose with the Munster match, it's just more that we know when we're up for a game, we know we're very capable of beating most teams. That includes Munster and Leinster and the likes. It's just about, I suppose, the talk this week is more how we get our focus into a game like Ospreys. We want to be able to replicate that emotional feeling for each game, like our line speed that we're saying has gone through the roof in recent games, and that's the thing we think we need to be able to bring most weeks when it shouldn't have to be an emotional build-up to get there. But we feel we've been in good form, and hopefully we can keep that form going.
It really is a matter of winning. You've got to just keep winning now. There's no other, with only one team going through to the final. Munster are 11 points ahead. So does that change your approach a bit? Is it? I know you obviously want to win every game, but do you actually now have to go out with a slightly different mindset that there's no bonus points, yes, but you have to win. It's that simple. Another loss now, and it makes it almost an impossible mountain.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. That's obviously at the forefront of our minds, but we know we're capable of doing it, and I suppose we've got a process to get there. And at the moment, it's getting our emotion right and trying to avoid. I suppose what in my mind is trying to avoid complacency on games we feel we know we're going to win. That seemed to be our problem over the years, and even a team like Ospreys would be one that shocked us when we've fielded what we thought have been a very strong team. So in my mind, it's more I want to replicate the emotion we've had in the last few weeks and deliver a very dominant performance on a team like they'll have this weekend, and that'll give us the results.
Yeah, and does the fact that Ireland is on the horizon again now for players, and this match will be watched very closely. It's also on the horizon for some Ospreys players with Wales. So does that bring an extra pressure to a player like yourself, because you're very close to that setup?
I think it might have had over the years, but not at the moment. No, definitely not anymore. I'm trying to keep my head with Connacht, and I think the way it is just you play well enough, you get your merit off that, and your focus can't be off the thinking too far ahead like that, because that's what will really wreck you if things don't go well. So I'm kind of more focused on what's in front of me right now, which is the Ospreys this weekend, and I think that's the way I'm going to be going with it.
It's all change again. Bristol and Racing 92 disappeared over the horizon, and now it's the Ospreys. But I suppose you're getting used to all these last week decisions.
Yeah, it's just the way it is, isn't it? It was disappointing that the European stuff was all postponed. What I am pleased with is we've got a game this coming weekend. As we know, that was one of the postponed fixtures we had, which is the Ospreys. So to know that we've locked that in and we've got them here at the sports ground next Sunday is good for us, because it gives us something to target and something to aim for. So we're looking forward to that.
Was it good to get a week off? I don't know how much time you got off, but to actually not have a game to prepare for that might be cancelled at the last minute that's happened to you against the Ospreys in November. Just clear the head, especially after a game like Munster that maybe asked more questions than answers.
It was really good, William. I won't lie. I said to a few of the boys that saw him this morning, I said, as much as I like you blokes, it was nice not seeing you for a week. So just not coming into the sports ground. I said we were still busy. There's always a lot going on, but just not having to come into the sports ground was good. It was the break we probably all needed. And I'm not going to say we had a break because there's still a lot going on, but just the change in routine. So people sort of bounced back in this morning, and there's a spring in the step, and we're looking forward to what this week brings us.
Ultan was talking to us there and saying that you have to go almost day to day, week to week, match to match, but the situation maybe for coaches is slightly different because you have to win every game now. There's no other escape. There's nothing else is going to happen. It's unlikely that Munster are going to start losing game after game. So does that bring an added pressure? And does it mean you have to maybe slightly change your approach to the game?
No, not really. Like, he's right. It is week to week, day to day, hour to hour, nearly. But we've known even if we'd won that game against Munster, the last outing there, we're still going to have to keep winning games of footy. So not much has really changed with that. I suppose the tricky bit is looking ahead and just knowing exactly what the landscape is, and are these other games, as we said there, it's basically week by week. So we know we've got Ospreys this weekend. That's all we can focus on. We know on the 5th of Feb we've got a trip away to the Dragons. So they're the next two games that we've got, Ospreys into the Dragons, and we'll be doing everything in our power to win those ones, and then everything beyond that.
And you've obviously looked at the end game of Munster, and you can't dwell on it forever, but is the real test now if you get a similar situation where you're chasing a game and you get one chance right at the end to win it? Is that when you'll know if the learnings have occurred, that you get the job done, you make the right decisions, you get the right play away?
Yeah, the proof's always in the pudding, isn't it? But I tell you what's happened from that, though. There's been some really, really healthy conversations. There's been some real, I think, some real leadership shown from our leaders as well. No one wants to go in a game or finish a game like that, and it does haunt you, especially when the next weekend you're not able to play. So for the boys that are out there on the field for that one, it's I know they're busting to have another chance at it. But there's been some really good conversations, and I know I have no doubt that the next time we're in a situation similar to that, we'll be a lot better equipped to make sure we make a collective decision that's decisive. Whether it's the right decision or not, that's sport. I'm not going to say we should have done something, because it's very easy in the comfort of a box to say, when you're looking down on something, to say, well, this is what I think we could do. Could have we done something different? Yeah, we could have. And I think we'll be better equipped for that next time.
Few key players missing, particularly in the centre. Bundyaki still trying to fix the knee situation. Sammy Arnold has had surgery. So you're going to have to do a bit of a rejig there. So Tom Daly, key man. I mean, he's had a great season, but you're going to have to find somebody to go in there with him.
Yeah, Tommy's been fantastic, as we've seen. As Sammy Arnold's really stepped up this year too. But unfortunately, as you've just shared there, he's had that surgery on his chest. Bundy is working hard to come back. We've also got Pete Robb, who's very, very close to coming back, and we've got young Sean O'Brien Jr. in the academy, who's stepped up during the course of this season as well on various occasions. So, we're skinny there, but we've still got plenty of talent there, and I know that whoever gets their chance will take it well.
Ospreys maybe don't have a lot to play for, except maybe the players who are trying to get into the Welsh squad. But Welsh teams have come here before and done a bit of a number. The Scarlets maybe earlier in the season got away with a win that maybe wasn't seen coming. So what do you have to do for Sunday to get the same level of intensity that we saw against Leinster and at certain times of the Munster match?
Yeah, and we actually spoke on our virtual call this morning about that. It's one thing to to be able to bring that intensity against Leinster and then against Munster, but to make it the new us, and basically the emotional side of it's all around the defence and the energy and the aggression, the line speed we had in our defence. That'll tell you whether we're on or not. But what we've got to do, that's got to become the new us. It can't just roll out for Interpro stuff. So that'll be a great test as to see where our heads are mentally with that. And I believe if we bring that, I believe it'll be too much for the Ospreys. I believe they've also got a fair bit to play for. Like they're sitting about third or fourth in their pool, so they want to keep advancing. At this particular point in time, we know that, or we're told that it'll all finish, after these 2 replay games and another 5. But you just never know what's going to happen. So, our message to our players: just keep playing, boys. Just keep playing and try and win as many games as you can, because you never know what's going to happen at the tail end of the season.
Final question. I want to change sports for a second to cricket. India produced a startling performance today at the Gabba in Brisbane. They have used a lot of sports psychologists coming from T20 IPL cricket, where most sides have 1, if not 2. They've talked about it, maybe not in huge amounts. Is that something that rugby's missing? I know you've had use of that coming and going with Connacht, but is that the future? Because the way they played today was it wasn't carefree, but it was so structured in their belief that they were going to win this match. A very difficult thing that they did. Does that become something that rugby has to take on, even though it's a completely different setup to, say, tennis players who use them or golfers?
Yeah, as we've shared on a couple of our chats with him, we are using them at the moment. We got Jack Birtwistle here who has added real value to us in that performance skills role. Aidan O'Flynn's done a lot of work with us prior, but it was probably more in the mental health side of things. So, but that whole mind part of the athlete, to me, is untapped, and I think it's a really, really important part for us to keep exploring and keep giving these young blokes not only the skills to be strong and powerful and fast and skillful with their craft out on the field, but to have the mind that's also really zoned in and works on dealing with pressure and dealing with adversity and keeping themselves self-regulated and self-aware as to what makes them. We use the 3 C's: calm, clear, and confident, walking into a game and staying in a game. So, I think we're seeing that across multiple sports. And you raise India today; it was a very impressive performance. I actually thought their day 5 of the Test match in Sydney was phenomenal. How they kept that out, but there's obviously some good things going on there. And for us, I think we're starting to see some of the benefits of that as well. Just even the day-to-day stuff around here, how people are staying positive and staying focused on getting a job done and turning up. It sounds really simple, but there's a lot of uncertainty out there at the moment, but people are staying on task, and I think that's a lot of the work that Jack's been doing is we're seeing the benefits of that now.
Okay, so I suppose the big thing that came out of the press conference, that's not in our section of the press conference because a question was asked later on, was Andy Friend and his negotiations, the contract negotiations. Do you want to talk about it first, William, or will we listen to the question?
Yeah, let's listen to our colleague Sinead Kassan asking Andy what's happening with his contract negotiations.
Andy, are you close to signing a new contract with Connacht?
Yeah, having some really positive conversations with the CEO, Willie Ryan, at the moment. So all I can say is it is very positive. We do love it here, and my wife and I are very comfortable here. So hopefully some positive news will come in the not too distant future.
So, William, that sounds like positive news from Andy and from the Connacht camp, that it'd be really important to keep him, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think we all knew this situation was under discussion because his contract is up at the end of the season. And while he didn't say today that it's definitely a done deal, he certainly seemed to indicate that he wants to stay. It's really the first time he's been asked about it in a public forum. I think with the situation with Connacht, where you have 27 players out of contract, which is a staggering number, you nearly need to sort out the coaching ticket first, so that then you have something definite for the players to say, well, this is who you'll be dealing with going forward. And if you are trying to attract new players, because you mightn't be able to keep all of your current players, and to be blunt, you mightn't want to keep all of them, you need to have some clarity as to who's actually running the show. And I think it suits everybody. Hopefully the deal will be done. And I think it's important for the IRFU that they see a continuation. But I genuinely think he likes it here. And he said that today. And I think it's, we've always had that feeling that he feels that he may have more work to do here. And I think his leadership has been key to keeping the whole show on the road.
It certainly has. Like Dave, I'm looking at his record. He has in his first season, he had a 55% winning record in the Pro 14. In the second season, 53%, and he's currently at 56%. We've never had a coach in the Pro 14 who's had that sort of continued success. It's pretty huge. We'll talk about Europe in a minute.
I agree. I think Williams nailed it on the head. It's the certainty. I think there's so much uncertain at the moment, and regarding about what the competition is going to be for this season, what the competition is going to be for next season. So you want to minimize the amount of uncertainty in any organization, and everything comes. You need a figurehead. You need a fountainhead from which everything springs. And if that fountainhead is again a part of the uncertainty, then it exacerbates all other aspects of uncertainty within the club in terms of 27 players. Guys are rowing up decisions. We know everything was put on hold, and it's not unique. It's not unique to Connacht in terms of the player contracts. It's across all four provinces. But when you see a situation where, well, what is the certainty for next season in an uncertain world? And both ourselves, and we should also mention that Dan McFarland has signed a 2-year extension up in Ulster. So we are heading to a situation where we can say, with touch wood, we can't say again, use that word uncertainty. We cannot say definitively that this will happen, but everything we saw today would make you positive that Andy Friend will be the coach next year, at which point players can then assess themselves, well, who's the coach? What will the setup be? How will we play? What is the sort of long-term plan, both in terms of the season and going forward? And like I said, well, it comes from Andy. But it's much more clear-cut now if and when Andy signs his new contract.
Yeah, it's really important. Like, as I say, he seems to have given us a reasonable amount of consistency in the Pro 14, and through, as you mentioned, there's loads of guys getting game time, and you look at someone like Tom Daly, who's absolutely blossomed since he's been given more and more game time. A lot of quality players there, but in Europe we're struggling a little bit under Andy. Like we had a good first year when we got to the quarter final in the Challenge Cup, but in the Champions Cup, we've only won 2 games out of 8, so we still struggle.
But you have to. But the level of competition, the teams we're playing are better. We have to accept that.
Oh, absolutely.
It's Racing and it's Bristol, who are 2 teams who would expect to be in the quarterfinals. That would be their minimum requirements. Plus, also they would be looking at making the final 4 of their own domestic competitions. Now, these are not teams that are scraping it together. These are not teams that are scrabbling to stay above promotion rate. These are teams for whom winning is a minimum concept, and it does raise the stakes. It does mean that you're playing teams who are playing with much more confidence, with much more surety, and let's be frank, with much more money, so they can, if needs be, bring in another Fijian centre, which is what Racing have done this week. So let's not let's put the caveat on. We should be doing better in Europe, beside the sites, but then again,
well, okay, it's not that I'm saying. I'm just saying we're struggling a little bit more, and as you say, it's because of the quality. But the one thing I would say is that we could have won in Racing, and we might have won in against Bristol if we hadn't made a silly mistake. So what I'm saying is that the actual win-loss ratio isn't great, but we are very competitive and properly competitive, not sort of scrapingly hanging on there and getting a point competitive. I'm talking about getting out there and getting try bonuses and losing bonuses against, as you call them, top quality teams.
I think the issue this season has been that Europe it was messed up going from 6 to 4 games, and now it's only really been 2 games. and it's moved on, and we still don't fully know. We might still have some European rugby to play for Connacht, because they could go into a round of 16 in the Challenge Cup. That seems, there was a lot of confidence it was going to happen last week in certain quarters, but there are issues, I'm told. EPCR have said that things are still being negotiated. I think they're concerned that if they go for this, they would have to run off 16 games at Easter, 8 in the Champions Cup and 8 in the Challenge Cup. And that's a big operation to get that done. They weren't expecting this to happen, but it would be good. It would be interesting. An away match, probably, because of we've only got a point. Maybe Leicester. If the system were panned out the way I think it might, it could be away to Leicester or London Irish. We've never played Leicester, so that would be one for the Statos, because they'd be able to go, no, we've played every English team in Europe. So that'll be announced. That'll be announced fairly soon, I'd say.
Yeah, we've never played Leicester, and we've never played Leicester, and we've never beaten London Irish. So in a competitive game, so yeah, either of them would be great. Right. Okay. So
I mean, I'm glad Williams much, because I saw a report which was a little less thrilling, which said we would, if it was played off at the moment, we get Treviso. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, let's wait and see. Exactly. Let's wait and see.
Yeah. Okay. The team that hasn't won a game all season and who's lost their coach.
Yeah, and they're out half.
Tough time all round for. Yeah, and they're out half. Who's now gone to Glasgow? Ian Keatley finish off his career, I expect.
Okay, let's take a quick break before we go on and preview the Ospreys game. Okay, let's get to the preview of the Ospreys game, and we can go back to the rest of the press conference now. We've talked about the bit that interested us most, I suppose. And injuries. We've got an injury update. It's just quite a detailed injury update today, which is great, I suppose. After the break, we've got a good one, and of course, all eyes on Bundyaki. Is he going to play? Is he not?
Yeah, we know Sammy Arnold's not going to play. He's had surgery on a chest muscle injury, which apparently he picked up against Racing. And they thought he'd be able to play through it, but now they decided that it was a bit worse. So he's had surgery and he's out till April, which is difficult because he was playing very well and he'd set up a good relationship with Tom Daly. Bundyaki has a knee injury. Running on the normal Connacht pattern, if you don't train, you don't play. So I think he's going to be put through fitness test, and if they can move him up to a level where he can train, he might be available at the weekend. And it's hard to judge that. They didn't really give us a complete steer. Paddy McAllister, Tiernan O'Halloran, they are very close to coming back along with Peter Robb. So overall, the injury scenario isn't too bad.
Okay, Dave, one thing I picked up, they're living more in the moment. Certainly Ultan talked a lot about living in the moment and figuring things out. And then they were quite open about the fact that they got that end game wrong against Munster. Did you get that from your listening of the thing? Like, you were there, I've only listened to it afterwards.
The thing I got from Ultan was very, very, very relaxed. I mean, considering that he had just literally come out of a PGR test, and I've had them, and you don't come out with them too relaxed. They are not a relaxing experience. Nope. So he was very chilled, very in and of the moment. There's a calmness. Most of the time there is a calmness. It's just weird. They realised they made a hames of the end of the Munster game. There's no point saying they didn't. And I think that I suppose it is easy to say when looking back on it, that you won't necessarily make the same mistakes again. I saw what happened at the end of the Munster game. I saw that happen in other games involving Connacht, especially against Irish provinces. I don't think that happens against a non-Irish team. That's my own personal reading of it. And I think they know it. And I do think that if you look at everything else, it was the first time this season I've seen a sense of panic. And that is very much a reflection on the fact that they're much more, their mindset is much more, okay, this is a setback, but it's not the end of the world. Listening to Ultan, very important. Jack Birtwistle's influence on the team as a whole and individually seems to be very good. like I say, they realised they made a mistake at the end of the Munster game, and I think that, heaven forbid, should the same situation happen this weekend, I don't think they'll make the same mistakes. Though I do think you have to take into account that that Munster beating Munster at home may have contributed to some of the slight fuzzy thinking at the end of that game.
Exactly, and this game is important, and like the Ospreys are a team that are starting to motor now. They weren't playing very well at the start of the season, but they're doing pretty well now, and a big part of it seems to be Stephen Myler, someone we would have come across back in his Northampton days, years and years ago in a quarter final, where he kicked us off the field, and it apparently, according to Danny's stats, they're kicking the ball in a huge amount. They've kicked the ball 8,500 meters this year, and we've only kicked it for 6,000, and we're regarded as a kicking team. Like, wow, what do you make of that, William?
Yeah, look, it's very simple. If Connacht lose this game, it's over. They're not going to catch Munster. They can barely do it now. They actually need Leinster to beat Munster on Saturday night. So they've got to win this game. They've got to win all their games. And they could win all their games, and they could even go to Munster and beat Munster, because they will play Munster, and they could still fail to catch them. So there is a lot of pressure on this game. Ospreys are in a slightly different situation. They're so far behind Leinster and Munster. But Glasgow have 2 games in hand, and if they were to catch them, it's really all about European places. They have changed their coaching ticket. They've got some players who are... George North should probably be in the Welsh squad. There would be an argument for a lot of people in Wales who would say that Dan Lydiate and Jason Tipuric should be in the starting 15 as well. They could cause a lot of damage. It's a pretty simple game plan. They just want to keep the ball away from their defensive area. But they don't win away from home very often outside of Wales. But I think they have improved as the season has gone on. It probably means more to Connacht to win this game in their situation. But for the development of the Ospreys and the fact that Wales have to get themselves together for a Six Nations, the players I've just mentioned, if they all play, could be very interesting. And there's also, there's still Connacht players, your Finlay Beelams, Dave Heffernans, Kieran Marmions, Quinn Roos, they're all still around the Ireland situation. So it has that kind of feel to it as well. But for Connacht, it's must-win game.
It is, and like just looking at one of the things that Ospreys are particularly good at is their scrummaging, and looking at the weather forecast at the moment, and this is we're recording this on Tuesday evening, it's going to be cold and showers on Sunday afternoon, so we could have quite a few scrums, and that seems to be their strong point this season. I think in our previous preview of this game, of the original game, it was Dennis Buckley who mentioned that their scrum was particularly strong. On the flip side, their line out isn't great. So, Dave, you talk about. I know you asked a question today about our home record. Are you expecting us to get that sorted this weekend, or what do you think we need to do to get it sorted this weekend?
Oh, execute. It's all about execution. It's not like we have been. I mean, the 3 defeats are: we dropped the ball over the line 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
We had suddenly the weather decided to turn completely 180, and we seemed to be completely thrown by that. Mm-hmm. And we went the wrong way on a last minute line out, on the last minute scrum. So it is execution. We may be better off playing like we're the away team, because if you compare the last 2 home performances compared to the last away performance, which was up in the RDS, that was about brutal efficiency, and we need to be brutally efficient this weekend. I don't know what team the Ospreys will bring with us, boys. If they pick out their full international, they have an exceptional pack. I mean, in theory, they could pick a back 5, which would be as close to Wales' back 5 as you can get. We've got Rhys Webb, who's back in Wales and wants to prove a point, because he will feel he's been very badly treated over the last 18 months when he was away. North has a point to prove. The fights to be the centres for Wales are huge. You got Scott Williams and Owen Watkin. So yeah, they could pick a very strong team. A bit like ourselves, we don't quite know where they are in terms of who they'll be allowed to pick on what they are. They haven't released an injury report, so we don't know who's coming back, who's available from them as of right now.
Okay, William. So you're expecting us to be at full strength. You don't see us having to keep anybody rested because there's no reason to rest anybody at this stage, is there? They haven't had enough rugby.
No, there isn't. Because they will stop again after this for another week, where I assume they'll keep training. And then the next game up is away to the Dragons on the 5th of February, which is the Friday night before the Six Nations starts on the Saturday. So a lot. I mean, Andy Friend said today that Andy Farrell is not specifically telling him who to pick on how long they can play for. Situation in Wales is very hard to read on that. It's never really clear exactly who makes these calls. So that is a fascinating thing, is how strong a team they come with. There's also the situation that we think that the Pro 14 is going to finish. Allegedly, at the moment, it's finishing on March the 27th. I can't find anybody that actually thinks that the Rainbow Cup is going to be played. So this game is very important, but it might only be part of the story as to how many games Connacht have left to play.
So, Dave, I'm assuming you think we're going to win?
Yeah, I'm going to think of it because this is our last home game, or if you follow the Pro 14, this is our last home game of the season because there are no matches of any sort lined up after the 5th of February. And I'd like to point out there are no matches lined up for anybody. I mean, it's not just us. There are no matches. I mean, that's the stupidity of the whole thing. They got so caught up in getting the South Africans up. And I said it in our last time I was on the show, I don't understand why they couldn't just go, the South Africans are coming and they're arriving in September/October. Isn't this great? And here are the fixtures for the rest of the season. Simple. Everybody's happy. Everybody knows where they stand. Instead, they absolutely butchered what's going to happen. So as of now, this is our last home game until God alone knows when. I think we can win it. I think the attitude of the Ospreys could be used. I think they came here last year, and their attitude was terrible. I don't think they'll come with that attitude. I think they'll be up for it. I think there's guys will still want to put their hands up because Wayne Pivac doesn't know his best 15 at the moment. The guys will want to right the wrongs of the Munster game. There are also guys who want to, let Andy Farrell know they exist. So it could be a cracking game. And I do think we'll come out on the right side of it, but we have to be 100% right.
And William, are you as confident as Dave that Connacht can get the victory required?
I haven't seen the Ospreys team. I think that's the whole key to this. I think because it actually means more to Connacht, I think they will win it. If they don't, then they're going to have a serious look at their home performances. I really don't think. I think teams come to the sports ground now and are not. The fear factor has gone, and it's not just to do with the crowds not being there.
It is, William. It is. It's all about the crowds not being there. Come on, it's the fans that are being missed. That's what's missing. The whole connection there. It's all about the fans.
There could be a case of it because I mean, players aren't being intimidated. You can't be if the loudest sound coming from the crowd, from the stands, is your own subs, and we saw that with the Scarlets.
Yeah.
That's I think Williams. I think it is a factor. I don't think it's the only factor. I don't think Andy Friend thinks it's the only factor, but it is a factor.
From our point of view, it's the important factor because we want to get the fans back. I certainly don't want to. Not looking forward to standing on my own again at the weekend.
The point is that our record last season wasn't. Yeah. We lost games at home, and I think Sunday is a big challenge. It's going to be a fascinating game. But I think, I would just about go for Connacht if because they've more to play for.
Okay, I think we can leave it there. That's good stuff from the lads. Thank you very much. And here's William with the upcoming fixtures. There's no results to talk about because there was only one game last weekend, and we won't even mention it because it was not worth mentioning because it was a train hooter in it and all that sort of stuff. And well, okay, you can tell us what the result of that game was as well. All right, bye, folks.
Well, just one result from last weekend in the Pro 14 on Saturday, January the 16th. It finished Glasgow Warriors 23, Edinburgh 22. On Friday the 22nd of January, the Scarlets versus Cardiff Blues with an 8 p.m. kickoff. On Saturday the 23rd of January, Zebre versus Edinburgh with a 1 p.m. kickoff, and Munster versus Leinster with a 7:35 p.m. kickoff. And the game we've been previewing, Sunday, January the 24th, Connacht versus the Ospreys, kicking off at 3 p.m. Now, the fixtures are still a little confused because of the cancellations in Europe and the fact that games are still being made up. So these are the games going forward. Saturday, January the 30th, Benetton versus Munster, which is a 5 p.m. kickoff, and Scarlets versus Leinster with a 7:35 p.m. kickoff. And then there are 2 games currently scheduled in February. Friday, February the 5th, Dragons versus Connacht, 7:35 p.m. kickoff. And the following Friday, the 12th of February, Dragons versus Edinburgh, also kicking off at 7:35.
Loose, cut it loose. Break out or nothing changes. Sad.